welcome back to our channel. So today's video is going to be on how we implement Spanish in our homeschool routine. But before we start, I do want to remind you guys that we are on other socials, on Instagram and TikTok, Homeschool.HOMIES. Like, follow, subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out.
Alright, and also we want to throw a little side note there that both Lily and I speak Spanish. You know, we're coming from a place where we're able to speak to our children in Spanish, and we both have a native tongue. And you know, it's really worked out. For the last 3 years we've been following some kind of system. I've noticed that the girls are more comfortable speaking Spanish. They're able to enunciate words. Just this morning we did elegante, and both of our daughters were able to enunciate it very well. But just the differences in implementing Spanish at a minimum of 4 times a week has made a big significance in how they speak it, in their comfort, and not being as shy when they want to.
They're a little more confident.
Yeah, their confidence is definitely boosted. They even, you know, say words louder instead of whispering them. If you notice, when they don't know, when your homie doesn't know a word, they'll kind of like whisper it. So that's that confidence that they lack. So I've noticed a huge difference. I don't know if you've seen a difference on how they've been doing, but
yeah, I feel like we get more comments from other people, like our parents, you know, because they speak more Spanish to them, and they'll be like, oh, hi, mira, you know, like they get really surprised. So yeah, definitely have noticed a big difference. So just for reference, if this is the first video you guys have ever seen and you guys don't know the ages of our kids, we have a almost 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, and then we have an almost 3-year-old. So 7, 8, and 3 roughly. So we have been doing formal Spanish with them in school for about 3 years. I would say 2 years for sure. But before that, when they were more preschool, kinder, it wasn't really daily. We just try to speak it more. We were doing the preschool stuff, but we would do it in Spanish. So, you know, preschool at colors, numbers, shapes, all of that. But then we would also teach it to them in Spanish. So we would do it that way. But last year, we started doing it a little bit more intentionally, where we were doing it every day.
We would write words on our whiteboard. So we would write 6 words, the date, and we would have them copy in their Spanish workbook and say the words. We would do 3 for one and 3 for the other. And that was great, and you know, I could really see how it was helping their Spanish, especially using words that they didn't really use all the time. So that was really fun and exciting. But eventually you run out of words and, you know, and topics, and you know, they start to catch on. So I personally really enjoyed this year following a kind of workbook and a guide. I personally like that because I'm not as fluent in teaching, and you know, I kind of like to wing it, but I don't necessarily know if I'm winging it right all the time. So I do like following, you know, a ABC model. So that does help me, and I think as well as your learner, you're going to see that you know, they're going to like that structure, maybe, or maybe not, but the structure for them, for our particular kids, kind of works, and now I really enjoy it, and you know, I don't have to think about it. It's ready to go, and I open it. So definitely, if you're starting out, when you're planning for this, then maybe, you know, make it fun. Right now it's going to be September, so then we can start implementing fall words, you know, and then October, Halloween, candy, costumes, etc. So, you know, make it fun and make it exciting while, you know, you're teaching them new words that they don't necessarily use.
Yeah, perfect. So going back to when we first were doing this, it kind of turned into like a Spanish journal. We would, you know, kind of have a theme depending on the month or any holidays or seasons, whatever was going on. We would just have words that we would do that week or month or whatever. So yeah, like Ramses said, we would do about 3-4 words each. We would write them in Spanish on the board, and then the girls would go up when, you know, they wanted to start Spanish. It was kind of nice because they would be able to just go and start it whenever they were done with their morning work. So they would just go up and they would look at the words and read them, and they would honestly work together sometimes to get words that they, you know, didn't know, and some that they did, they would just write them in really quick. So they were pretty good about that. You know, sometimes, yeah, oh, I wanted to write that word, and oh, but she did it, kind of thing. But for the most part, they were good about it, and you know, they would split them up beforehand, you know, before anyone took anyone's word. So after they would write down the word in English, what they thought it was in English, they would have to give their best guess even if they didn't know what it was. And then they would write the date on the board. The date even still today is in Spanish on our board. So we write, you know, like lunes, what's it? What is today?
Today is Lunes. Yeah.
Lunes 29 de agosto 2022. So I have it like that on the board, and I change it every time we have school. So they would write their date on the board like that, and then once we were ready, we would, you know, him or I would go and do the lesson. So the way I would typically do it is just, oh, okay, so who did these or whatever, and I would tell them if they were right or wrong. We would go over each word, and then they would enunciate, say the words, repeat after me, kind of thing. Once we got towards the end of the year, I would ask them to give me a sentence with one of the words in it and just say it out loud. You can also do that. So there are different ways. Like Ramses says, you know, that was a little bit more like on the fly. Like I would kind of have to, you know, come up with things when we would be talking about the words, but for the most part it was mostly just them figuring out the word, you know, me kind of correcting them, having them say the words, and they would just record it into their journal. So that's what we would do for Spanish literally the whole year last year that we had school.
And you would think that, oh, they both speak Spanish, so you know they're just going to talk to their kids in Spanish. And you know, to be honest, that's something that we've kind of maybe definitely could have improved on, speaking to our kids more in Spanish. We just, it's just easier to speak in English sometimes because they already understand it. So just us being lazy.
We've been doing better. We've been definitely doing better. So yeah, it's definitely something that you have to intentionally implement daily, because it's probably the best way, the easiest way, the fastest way to teach a language.
Okay, so now an example of what we're doing today is we have a workbook that we follow. So the workbook, we got it on Teachers Pay Teachers. So the workbooks are all for kind of different letters and sounds is how they target it, and they have a story for that particular sound. So we were able to read the story. The girls learned words that they weren't familiar with, and like what was one? Like consejo, I think was one of them. So that's advice. So that was something that was new on there. So I really like that those words are like those abstract words where you don't use them all the time. So it's good for them to know, like I was mentioning earlier. So what I do now is I read the story to them first, and then we review the question, because there's a question in the middle, and then at the bottom is a blank space where they're going to write the words that they find important, and then they're going to draw a picture. So I'll read the story. So I'll read the first line, and then I'll have Jet repeat it to me. Then I'll read the second line, and I'll have Sissy repeat it to me. So that's how we do it till we finish the story. And this is not long. It's like 4 or 5 sentences. Then we go back and read it out loud together. And then we go over the question. We kind of, answer it together. Usually they already have it done. And then we pick some words. Also, as an add-on to draw the pictures, we've been going to Art Hub and putting how we're going to draw that picture. So you don't type in Art Hub horse, Art Hub tiger, and it'll help you how to draw it. So it really ties in the whole lesson, and again makes it fun. And when we're having fun and learning, we're making those new neuron connections. So you don't even know you're doing it. So fun is key right now at this age.
Another thing that I like to do when we do the workbooks now is when I read it, I'll read a sentence and then I'll have them raise their hand and I'll say, do you know what I said? Do you know do you have any words that you recognize? And then they'll raise their hand and they'll tell me, oh, this is this or this is that. And I realized that I like doing this because sometimes a word means something to them the way they've learned it, but it also has another meaning or another 2 meanings, So it's nice to they're like, oh, it means this. I'm like, oh, well, actually in this context it means this because this is why,
So overall, when you're teaching a new language to your homie, just, don't be too hard on yourself. Just know that if you have the privilege of being native to that language, it's going to be a little bit easier, but you got to put those reps in order for them to understand it. And some other unique tips: listening to music in that particular language. You can't, learning a song that you really enjoy in a different language. I mean, you'll remember the words. It'll be everything that we that we touched on, and it'll just be reinforced. Also encouraging family members that speak that language to speak it around your children.
Alright guys, I think that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow us on our other socials and comment, like, subscribe. It really helps our channel, and I will see you guys. We will see you guys, or I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.